Gurudev, Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Gurudev, Hari Hari. Mataji Lakshmi, is everything okay with our recording?
Sorry, Mataji.
Is it working? Yes.
It is working, Mataji. It is recording now.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Happy to see you. Mataji Pragati, Akshita, Vijay, Giri, Hare Krishna. Shri Hari Sanapala, Shri S. Prabhu, wonderful to see you. Bhumika, but Janradha Mataji, Arti, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being here today. Hare Krishna. And as always, we're going to start with reading the stories about Guru Maharaj. Dear devotees, if you could kindly mute yourself for now, unless you're reading. If you cannot read for some reason, could you please write in the chat and let us know? And the first story that we are reading today is called Sweaty Meditations with Radhanath Swami. Mataji Akshita, would you like to read? Thank you for being here.
Sweety Meditations with Radhanath Swami. I felt a bead of sweat crawl down my forehead. A chilly winter breeze whisked across the porch where I sat, dropping that bead onto my thighs. My meditations was distracted, and now that bead of sweat occupied my mind. How can how can I sweat when my body is still in a lotus posture? I only held a string of prayer beads, nothing too heavy. I chanted a mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Only in a soft murmur, and my mind had been more or less floating along with the sound of that mantra. No anxiety burdening it. I, yet I sweated. I was mystified. My eyes still shut, my mind flashed back to a printed text in the Bhagavad Gita. From wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. And my mind swayed back into the mantra the next moment, but my body continued to sweat until I was sweating like a pig. This happened to me every morning during the mantra meditation. I preferred to neglect this phenomenon, but the other monks who also meditated on the porch began to question me. What's wrong? I had no answer, and I couldn't care less to look for one. After all, I was now habituated to the sweating, and it did not disturb my meditation anymore. During these days, the temple hall on the first floor, where we sit and meditate daily, underwent renovation, and so we monks sat out with Radhanath Swami on the porch instead during meditation. I always sat specially close to Radhanath Swami to bathe in the aura of bhakti about him. One day, amidst the meditation, I opened my eyes to find Radhanath Swami staring at me. Before I could close them shut, Radhanath Swami gestured me to come close. I edged closer, dripping with sweat. I appreciate your enthusiasm in mantra meditation, he said as he smiled tightly. My ego ballooned as I savored the cooling sensation on my skin caused by the evaporating perspiration. I silently thanked the mysterious watery guest that visited me in the stillness of the morning. But it looks crazy. Radhanath Swami's smile changed into a frown. A heat wave gushed through my body, more perspiration. His next few statements I couldn't fully register, my ego still recovering from a sudden blast. But I managed to catch the essence. Even during our personal spiritual practices in Bhakti Yoga, we should be sensitive to our surroundings. A new person could be bewildered seeing someone strangely sweating during meditation and could be scared away from Bhakti Yoga. A Bhakti Yoga, every activity should encourage others to tread the path of perfection rather than discourage others or scare them away. Radhanath Swami closed with a gentle smile. Radhanath Swami had enlightened me about a new dimension of responsibility of a bhakti yoga. Now I had to sit back and analyze what caused the perspiration. Soon I figured that perhaps I chanted the mantras too fast, and while focusing on every syllable that now came by quickly, I tended to hold my body tight. So I slowed down my chant the next day, kept my
ये
body deliberately relaxed,
ये प्रभु
and the perspiration never reoccurred. Siddheshwar Bhatt.
Thank you so much for reading, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
It reminds me some words of Guru Maharaj that I read a couple of days ago in this regard. He said that we have to focus on the fact that Krishna is enjoying our chanting, not we are enjoying it. That we could be even very attentive, and just hearing every word, but if it's not um, for the sake of pleasing Krishna, then there will be no use, even if we are just saying these syllables very attentively. Krishna. Mataji Lakshmi Vijaya, would you like to read
Sure,
second story,
Mataji.
please?
Radhanath Swami accomplishes with no casualties. Pin drop silence filled the Radha Gopinath temple hall, except for the soft yet commanding voice of Giriraj Swami. He sat cross legged on a slightly raised seat, Vyasasana, along with Radhanath Swami. Who was to speak next? The audience, numbering 2,000, sat cross legged on the floor in rapt attention. They faced the Vyasasana that occupied one corner of the rectangular hall, close to the holy altar. The gold leafing that embellished the ornately carved altars and altar doors reflected the golden glow from the chandeliers. Thus, an all auspicious golden hue enveloped the divine gathering. Inches away from the Vyasasana, I sat, listening. Momentarily, when my eyes drifted away from the speaker, they met those of Radhanath Swami and found them gazing down right at me. With a movement of his index finger, Radhanath Swami gestured me to come closer. He had something to say. My heart started to beat conspicuously. A wave of tension passed through my spine. I had to absorb every bit of his whisper in the first go, for asking for any clarification would mean disturbing both the speaker and the audience. My life airs circling around my eardrums, I pushed my head close enough to be able to hear his whisper. Very politely, tell that girl not to lean against the deity's doors. I had heard every word clear and distinct. In quick reflex, I looked toward the altar and found a lady who stood leaning against the altar doors. Making my way through the crowd, I reached her and, in all politeness, pleaded, "Please, ma'am, don't lean against the doors, or else you shall ruin the gold leafing on it." She obliged, and only when I reoccupied my seat did the 4,000 eyes in the hall cease to follow me. Sitting there, I mulled over the sacred lesson I had just learned. Oftentimes, people emphasize just the aspect of detachment in spiritual life. Ironically, spirituality is more about attachment than detachment. A spiritualist is only detached from his or her selfish happiness, but he or she is completely attached to facilitating the happiness of God and the happiness of those connected to God, and that includes every living entity. A temple is God's home, and everything in it is designed for His pleasure. And to safeguard what gives God pleasure, a devotee considers that his sacred mission. But what really hit me was that I had witnessed Radhanath Swami accomplish his mission with no casualties. He had safeguarded the happiness of even that lady who was also a child of God. He had perfectly structured his whisper. If the words very politely had featured anywhere but in the beginning of that statement, I would have definitely missed its import, given that I was high strung at that moment, and impoliteness would have cost the lady's happiness, and that meant casualty. Written by Siddheshwara Bhatt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. We're going to move to the book now, please.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji Pragati, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Mata.
Hare
Yes, Mata.
Krishna. If you have a book, we're reading on page 211, chapter 7. If not, Mataji Lakshmi Vijaya will
Yes,
share the
Mataji, I'm
screen
sharing it.
soon.
I am not having book access. Yeah, from next time I'll try to give.
So we're going to read just a page each. I will tell
Okay.
you when to stop. Thank you.
Shall I read from this page? Chapter 7? Okay. One day in Janakpur, while sitting alone on the edge of a still lake in the early morning dawn, a peculiar looking sadhu sat down beside me. His opening words were startling. Be aware, there are scorpions in the guise of butterflies. Shaken, I asked why he was saying this. He, star- he, starred, he stared at me intently and spoke again. Don't open yourself up to demons in the guise of holy men, or you may discover your life in ruins only when it's too late. What are you talking about? I asked, alarmed. Perhaps I'll tell you another time. Abruptly changing the subject, he introduced himself as Vasudev and invited me to travel with him to a special historical place. I consented. A handsome man in his early 30s, Vasudeva, had the manners of an aristocrat, and his speech rang with the distinction of the Queen's English. He wore white robes, which curiously were immaculately clean. His long, jet black hair was neatly combed. In all of my travels, I had never met such a well groomed mendicant. He was learned in both spiritual and material subjects, and, like many I had met in those parts, was a devotee of Ram. When my new friend invited me to travel by foot for 3 days to reach an obscure holy place, I agreed. We journeyed through countryside the whole day, each day receiving one of my favorite foods, some rice and dal through begging. Whomever we met along the way was charmed by Vasudev's gentle nature. Vasudeva insisted on doing all the cooking in an open field or forest, finding two rocks to form a stove and balancing the pot between them while I collected wood for the fire. He prepared rice and dal finesse with the with the finesse of an artist sculpting a masterpiece. As we walked along on pilgrimage, we discussed many subjects. Vasudeva seemed to know about everything. But something puzzled me. Behind a mask of cheerfulness, I sensed that this man was tormented. Yet he strained to hide his suffering and hold back his tears, and my affection for and curiosity about him grew. Strangely, one night, while we were traveling together, sleeping in a cowshed to escape the rain, I had a horrible nightmare of being attacked by ghostly beings. I wondered why. After
Krishna, thank
three,
you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Shri Hari Samapala, would you like to read, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji, don't know.
Krishna Prabhu.
From after these days,
Yes, after 3 days.
we reached our destination, a historical rock in an abandoned field. That evening, as the wind began to gust, we could taste and smell the humidity rising, and knew that the monsoons were brewing. An imminent downpour. We searched around for a shelter and found a small stone structure abandoned long ago. We entered and flushed out several bats that were hanging from the ceiling. They hastily flapped outside. The house consisted of nothing more than one room about 10 feet by 10 feet, with two openings for what were once a window and a door. The walls were crumbling. Moss and cobwebs were the only furnishing. Once inside, we sat silently as thunder shook the earth. Winds lashed the trees, and a torrential rain poured down. From where I have to read here?
From the top, Prabhu, there is Vasudeva gazed at me.
Okay, Vasudeva gazed at me through tear-filled eyes. He asked if he could pour out the storm in his heart, honored that he would confide in me. I consented. Vasudeva shared with me that he had been born to a well-to-do family in Kolkata and received a PhD, becoming a popular, celebrated professor. Having met other devotees, he too became devoted to Rama. At this time, one day, two distinguished persons visited my office, bringing gifts and food that they claimed were sent by their guru. After several such visits, they invited me to meet the Guru. So I did. The Guru knew everything about his life down to the most private details and was able to read Vasudeva's mind. Astounded, he accepted the man's invitation to visit him regularly. I listened intently, fascinated as ever to learn the story of how a person comes to accept a guru.
Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Um, Rotary Mataji, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji Danvat Param.
Krishna.
One day, Vasudev continued. The Guru revealed his mind. I've been carefully examining you, he said. You are young, popular, and intelligent. I need your help. I wish to initiate you into your rites. Vasudev choked back a strong emotion as he recalled these words. I told him I would think about it. His voice trailed off and he buried his head in his palms, as if trying to bury untold miseries from the past. In desperation, he looked up at me. Richard, he sighed. I don't want to pollute your mind with my horrible story, but I'm going mad. I must tell someone. May I continue? Please do. He stared out the window hole. A lightning bolt highlighted the anguish of his face. Finally, full of despair, he spoke. I commenced to do research on this man, and to my horror, discovered that he was the leader of a powerful sect, a master in the black tantric arts. His eyes now penetrated mine. Do you know about black tantrics, Richard? No, I admitted. Vasudev shuddered and his voice trembled. He explained that tantric mysticism was extremely powerful and could be either beneficial or sinister. There are the white tantrics who use their power to serve humankind. Then there are the black tantrics who use their power to exploit people's life for their own diabolical purposes. They gain terrible influence through unspeakable sacrifices, tantric sex rites, and yoga. This guru was an extremely powerful black tantric, endowed with power to control people's minds and manipulate their lives. In my research, I was applied to find that at the time of the rites of initiation, he seized control over that soul for many lifetimes to come. I never went back. But Vasudev, if you got free, why do you still tremble and quake to think of him? That was only the beginning, he went on. Daily, the Guru's disciples harassed me in my office, in my home, or at any event I attended. I could not escape them. One day, 5 of them barged into my office and surrounded my desk. I felt like a hostage. The next moment, the Guru stood before me to claim my soul. He warned me, it is too late. I have claimed you as my own. Surrender to me, and I will award you the pleasures of fame and fortune beyond your belief. But if you refuse, I vow to torment you till death. Boiling over with disgust, I refused his command. Cursing me, his eyes blazed with vengeance as he stormed out. Vasudev sighed. One evening, when I returned home to my widowed mother, I found that she had fallen into his trap. Shaking with anger, she scolded, Why have you offended that religious man? You must become his disciple. I was shocked. I tried to explain his cruel machinations, but she would not listen. The Guru and his henchmen had effectively controlled her. After some days, she threw me out of my own house, saying she would not be a party of my offenses. What was happening to my world? Then, under the sex powers, the president of my college fired me.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji.
Um, Anuradha Priti Mataji, are you available
Krishna.
to read?
Outside, lightning struck a tree and cracked off a huge limb, crushing it down on our rooftop. We sat speechless. An explosion of thunder that seemed to shake the universe followed the devastating lightning bolt. Vasudev paled. With a fluttering voice he continued, Homeless and jobless, I was haunted by the black tantric disciple wherever I went. They even influenced the police, who refused to protect me. What could I do but leave Calcutta? By his supernatural power, this black tantric knew where I was at all times and dispatched his followers to harass me. Any job he landed, they convinced the employer to fire Vasudev, and any room he rented, they convinced the landlord to evict him. He even went to a newspaper to tell his story, but the reporters would not believe him. My life was in tatters, he said. At that moment, oh God, oh, sorry.
Hare Krishna, is everything okay, Mataji? Narada Priti Mataji, are you okay?
Sorry. Hello, Haribol.
Krishna.
Please, someone continue. I'm sorry, just happened. My computer just logged down.
Sure.
Should I continue or somebody is reading? I'm not very sure.
You can continue.
Okay. Not to be a party of my offense, what was happening to my world. Then under
Mataji, from at that moment.
Haribol.
You can read from the highlighted part, please.
Not be a party of my offense.
At that moment, Mataji, at the bottom.
Hear me?
At the very bottom it says, at that moment, a large toad hopped, where it's highlighted in yellow.
Okay. At that moment, a large toad hopped in through our doorway. His ambitious eyes gazed into mine. I wondered if you could be a secret agent of the Black Tantric and shuddered at the thought. Vasudeva seemed to read my mind. Are you sure you want me to continue? He asked. Thunder rumbled in every corner of the sky. I don't know any more, Vasudeva. I admitted I was frightened, but it seemed important that I hear the story. What happened after that? This evil yogi was incensed by the determination and resolved to murder me with black rites and mantras. He created an invisible weapon that separates the soul from the body. In other words, it slays the victims, but the killing of the body is the least of it. In that interim period between life and death, the Black Tantric gained control of the subtle body, covering the soul. As the sinister weapon struck, my body and mind were paralyzed with pain. I felt ghastly being in ethereal form haunting me, begging to be saved. I chanted the name of God. As long as the name was in my mind, the invisible weapon could not end my life. For a full day and night, the weapon tormented me. I knew if I ceased to remember the name for a moment, I would meet a fate worse than death. I chanted ceaselessly. The weapon was powerless to kill me in the presence of God's name. If an evil tantric weapon cannot kill its victim, it must return to slay its sender. The black tantric was struck dead, killed by his creation. God's name has saved me.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Monali, Mataji, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, currently I am stuck in traffic, Mataji.
Okay. Sure. Hearing the spooky tale, a wave of shivers rushed my body from head to toe. I leaned forward to hear more. This evil mystic still exists. He just doesn't have a gross body. Now he controls his disciples from the astral plane, dispatching them to wherever I hide to seek revenge. They hunt me down at all times. I cannot settle at any one place because within a matter of weeks they terrorize me. The furious storm outside was beginning to subside. In the emerging silence Vasudeva sighed. It is for this reason, contrary to my will and nature, that I have become a homeless mendicant. I know that if I genuinely surrender to God, He will protect me, but until that day comes, I must run and hide in the guise of a holy man. Crickets began to sing. Vasudeva looked deeply into my eyes. I'm sorry to tell you all this. I've kept it to myself for years, but I have to speak to someone. Richard, I have no one to blame. It's ultimately my own doing. I couldn't understand how he could blame himself and ask him to explain. Modestly, he attributed his present troubles to past life karma. I don't know what I've done to deserve my miserable lot in life, Vasudeva concluded, but I know that it's justified, and I know that if I sincerely pass this test and surrender to the Lord, He will deliver me. Vasudeva's trembling hand now held mine as he made one last appeal. Because you're my friend, I must advise you to abandon me lest you get implicated. If I don't see you in the morning, I will understand. My brother, as you search for your path, please be cautious. You are exposing yourself to powerful beings, and not all are holy. And please pray for me. We sat in silence. I could not speak a word. He knew from what I've already observed in India that many gurus had strong powers, including the power to sway followers to do whatever they asked. I was more terrified of what my companion had revealed to me than I had been of the pack of rabid dogs. The dogs I had at least been able to see and fend off, but how does one fend off the invisible forces of evil that could attack an unsuspecting person trying to follow a spiritual path? Vasudeva then lay down on the dirt to sleep, with his arm as a pillow. But sleep was far from my mind. I gazed through the hole in the wall. There were stars emerging from the parting clouds, but no moon. Next to me, Vasudeva tossed anxiously in his sleep. Am I willing to be implicated in the harrowing complexities of this life? The thought caused me to shiver. I can think of no other way to help him except to pray. But is all he asked for me? That is all he asked for me. As he tossed, turned, and groaned in his sleep, I walked far away into the night, praying that the path I was taking would be a safe one, and that he too might find safety and peace. Krishna, dear devotees, anyone else wishes to read? Even if you read before, you can read again.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, please.
My path continued to be rife with experiences both dark and light, each experience offering me a window into the different worlds that might await me were I to take certain turns and not others. Most of the sadhus who greeted me upon my return to Janakpur were old enough to be my grandfathers. I was praying in the Janaki temple when, to my surprise, a young Nepali student by the name of Vishnu Prasad approached me. Well dressed, with a round face and pious demeanor, he was so fascinated to see approached me. Um, a Western youth who had taken to the life of a sadhu that he invited me to his home in the village of Brahmapur. His home there was like a beautiful ashram, the wealth of the family evident in bright furnishings, carpets, brass vessels, and flower gardens. As I entered, Vishnu's mother and father cordially greeted me and served me a sumptuous meal of spiced vegetables in aromatic sauces and rice glistening with clarified butter. I happily spent several days there. Uncles, aunts, and cousins all lived under one roof, but I never heard a single voice rise in anger. They had nothing but respect for one another. In the morning, the children respectfully touched the feet of their parents, and the parents in turn offered blessings. No matter what their age, the children, even the teenagers, were naturally obedient to their elders, and the younger children showed honor to the eldest son as the representative of the parents. Having been brought up in 1960s America, I experienced this teenage respectfulness as a pleasant kind of cultural shock. Moreover, every inch of the home was immaculately clean, except me. I felt like a disheveled mendicant in a haven of class and refinement. My body looked quite beaten down, and taking note of this, the family gave me a medicinal balm for my bruised, cracked feet. Although they offered me my own room with a comfortable bed, I chose to sleep in the garden under an Ashoka tree. Each morning and evening, the family members would gather together for worship ceremonies in their small temple of Lord Rama in the center of the home, where during the day the women performed various devotions. I found nothing but happiness in their home. In the evenings, I sat with Vishnu Prasad in a pleasant garden among the marigolds, roses, and flower bearing trees. Tara Prasad, his father, sometimes sat with us. A wealthy man with a wife and children, his purity of character was impressive, more so than many of the ascetics I had encountered. Spirituality is a matter of the heart, I pondered. The more I grew to love Vishnu Prasad's family members, the more of a friend he became to me. From these gentle souls, I learned much about the traditions of family life in the East. Most importantly, my realization that true spirituality comes in many forms was confirmed. However, I could not stay too long in these comfortable surroundings, for I had chosen the life of an ascetic. When it was time to go, the whole family saw me to the gate. They were crying as I turned and walked off down the brick path, and so was I. Now, more than ever before, the path I was choosing struck me as strewn with unseen dangers. In my passion for truth, which admittedly I couldn't fully explain, I had left the comforts of home and continued to renounce comforts along the way, pressing on despite fears that arose at the uncertainties awaiting me. Shall I stop here, Mataji?
Sure. Maybe Mataji Akshita wishes to continue some more. Would you like?
Yes, sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
From from Janakpur, I traveled back to the Kathmandu Valley, just below the hill of Bhotnath, 7 miles east of the city, in a grove of flowering trees. I meditated. Opening my eyes, I looked up into a magnificent rainbow arching over the entire Himalayan valley that glowed against an indigo backdrop of monsoon clouds. I took a deep breath, drinking in a breeze of cool, earthy air. Soon, stomping footsteps nudged me out of my dreamy state and drew my attention to a European tourist marching through the fields and carrying a large bag of groceries. Well over 6 feet tall, blond, with muscles bulging from beneath his t-shirt, he had the physique of a bodybuilder. Suddenly, from out of the forest, a gang of brown monkeys surrounded him. Although each monkey was only a fraction of his size, they knew how to find his weakest point and attack. They snarled and bared their teeth, threatening him with intimidate, intimidating gestures. While holding the groceries in one of his massive arms, he hoisted a sizable rock in the other hand, whooping like a warrior, threatened to pulverize the little bandits. But the monkeys were unfazed and only snarled louder. They took small leaps towards their target, succeeding in attacking his mind. Paralyzed with fright, the Hulk could only tremble like a scared child. Finally, one of the little monkeys stalked right up to him and seized the grocery bag from his hand. He did not even resist. While the monkeys clustered around the bag to devour the grocery, they paid him to they paid him no heed. Reduced to a bundle of nerves, the he man slipped away. Seconds later, a skinny little Nepalese boy of about 8 years old appeared on the scene. The gang of monkeys had just begun feasting on their booty, but stared with apprehension upon seeing the tiny boy. The child skipped toward them with a stone in his hand. The gang of bandits preached terror in their eyes. Suddenly, they abandoned the food and fled in all directions. The little boy collected up the groceries and sat down to dine. Meanwhile, the monkeys anxiously watched from a distance. I was amazed. What had just happened here? That playful boy was hardly the weight of one bicep of the Herculean European. The monkeys were unfazed by the threats of the giant because they sensed fear in his mind. But they feared the child because he had no fear of them. What did this mean? What did this mean for me and my ever narrowing path to God? I thought of the pack of wild dogs and of Vasudev's frightening tale of the evil black dancer. I considered my fear of coming under the spell of an unscrupulous guru where I chose too hastily, but I could see how fear could block my progress. We are vulnerable to defeat when our mind comes to fear. The foreigner was unfamiliar with monkeys, but the Nepalese Todd had lived around monkeys all of his life. So we fear what we don't know. Through knowledge of our spiritual nature and sincere faith in God, we can overcome all fear. Please, Lord, bless me with such courage as I find my way to you. Hare Krishna.
Krishnamurti. As I pondered these thoughts, the smiling boy ran up to me and offered some bananas from the grocery bag. The monkeys chattered with excitement, marking me as a prospective victim. They made me realize that I had more in common with that European than I would like to think. Feeling I had a long way to go on my path to reach the innocent, fearless faith of this child, I politely declined. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining. Would you like to discuss what we read today? What are your thoughts, realizations? Just thought about this part that we read now about the monkey and the boy and the bodybuilder is that almost like the monkey always also feels more like a soul, like what's our, in a way, or what are our inner qualities, even though fear is not a quality of a soul. Um, but it's like animals sense so much more of our like feelings than sometimes we tend to do. We have a tendency of looking at the external often. So for me, it was like an interesting thought. And also, when we're reading about um, the story of the person that was sharing about the tantric with our Guru Maharaj, and I thought that how fortunate I was that amongst like all different traditions, I happened to get interested in Vedic knowledge. At some point, I didn't have to go around and like look and trying there and there. I just started studying it and became so interesting for me, and I felt like there is nothing better than that immediately. So some people really had to suffer through these different experiences, and even here, unfortunately, in ISKCON, some devotees had bad experiences with their gurus, or um, yeah. So I feel like very fortunate about my path here. What are your thoughts, dear devotees?
Yes, Mataji, we are all so fortunate to come under the shelter of Ratna Swami Maharaj without going through a lot of troubles. But still, even in this path, sometimes our mind, just like the monkey, it goes into the various ways, taking us away, sorry, taking away from, I mean, try to bewilder us like the monkey. But when we are holding the, the lotus feet of our Guru and Krishna, the monkeys will go away, the mind will come back. I had some experiences like that, mind taking me away and then coming back. So I can see that
You can
comparison.
relate. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anyone else, dear devotees? Maybe you had an opportunity to meet Guru Maharaj recently and you wish to share your feelings or something. Mataji Akshita, do you want to say something?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So, whatever
Krishna.
we read today, I really like one point, like in starting we were reading, like about how to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Like how Maharaj always focused that we have to focus on each syllabus of the mantra. Because many times I just chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So it just goes fast and fast. So I was feeling like, yes, through all of you, through this session, Maharaj is teaching me, just focus on each level. Though we know, but still the mind wanders here and there, and we just go on doing fast, fast, fast chanting. So, yes, I will try to focus on each level. I'll just try to uh, learn this point daily. I'll just try to remember this point. I really like this point today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We have to remind ourselves daily, right? That because we also have a tendency to forget very easily. Even if we learn something, yeah, we say, yeah, it's true, it's very important. And then something else becomes more important for us, unfortunately. Mataji Anuradha, do you have anything you wish to share? Shreyas Prabhu, haven't heard from you today. I assume you're still busy at another meeting.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Sorry, I was not able to read today. We were not. I was in a meeting earlier, and we were also sick. So, trying to. My daughter was also sick. But I wanted to share that I was thinking how Maharaj shared these pastimes in this 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 family he visited and this house and the Vasudev saint that he met. So all these people, I don't know if where they are, and this house is there, and if they remember, maybe they remember Maharaj um, meeting Maharaj back then. Like things were so much different back then for Maharaj and everything, and now Maharaj is, in a different world, sort of, compared to that time. But I'm sure Maharaj remembers them. He wrote about them. I'm sure he has gratitude for everything that they shared and all the lessons Maharaj in those pastimes learned from them that Maharaj has shared. Um, but it's just amazing that Maharaj just met so many people on this journey. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so much experience, and actually, I feel like when one person uh, has all of this experience, he can appreciate even more all different traditions and really have even more faith in his choice, mm, because he knows how it's like. Mm. And the philosophy and the practices, and real life practices of this different tradition, not just like philosophy, not just from the book, but he actually lived them, he really experienced. So yeah, we can learn from him. So we're grateful again for him for writing this book and sharing with us, and also for Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj who inspired him. Dear devotees, if Shreyas Prabhu, yes, I would like to wish you health and your daughter too.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Dear devotees, if there is something else you wish to share, you may do now. If not, I want to thank Mataji Lakshmi Vijay for sharing her screen, always also helping us in this reading, and Shreyas Prabhu. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for being here today, and I hope to see you next week. Panchakalpatrupyascha kripasindupyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Madhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful
Thank you
to
so
get
much,
to know you.
everyone.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Dharma Pranam.